Hi there. The books I picked for the Art Element of Value, both of these are actually Caldecott Award-winning books. This one is called Grandfather's Journey, and it is by Alan Say. And this book is actually written, the character in the book, it was written by his grandson. So it's kind of a neat story about a family's culture, about a family's history. Basically, the character in the book decides to leave his homeland of Japan and travel across the ocean on a steamboat on a riverboat, to see the world, basically. And he travels around North America on a riverboat and a train and just explores. And the colors in the book are very subdued. They're very light colors. And I feel like that helps the story in many ways. One of which, the story is all about embarking on a positive experience. There's no anger in the book. There's no negativity. So I feel like the colors truly reflect that with their soft blues and greens. And it's just a very calming story and calming colors to go with it. So the book itself, it starts off talking about my grandfather was a young man when he left his home in Japan and went to see the world. He wore European clothes for the first time and began his journey on a steamboat. The Pacific Ocean astonished him. So he introduces us to that. And then I think this is a really cool picture. You can see the reflection of the sun being cast across the ocean. And again, it's just very light, very subdued colors. And as you go through the book, here's the desert. The deserts with rocks like enormous sculptures amazed him. The endless farm fields reminded him of the ocean he had crossed. And as you go through the book, he meets a woman, marries her, and they have a child. And he desperately wants his child to see his homeland. So they end up going back to Japan, where he ends up raising his child. And then that child raises his child. So it's kind of a neat story about a family and their whole history of how they came to North America, went back, and then they do end up coming back toward the end. And again, the colors are just really subdued, really pretty greens. And I love how it shows like the reflection on the waters from the sun. So it's just, this one's a really great book. And then the other one that I picked for the Art Element of Value was Pepe the Lamplighter. And again, this is another Caldecott winning book. And it is by Elisa Bartone, illustrations by Ted Lewin. And this book is really great. It's about a little boy that his family lives in Little Italy, and they're very poor. So the little boy, even though he's very, very young, he decides he wants to go out and help the family by earning money. So the first of the book is him trying to get a job as just a little guy. And he ends up finding a job as a lamplighter. And his father is not happy with that choice. Now we might be extremely thankful and proud that one of our children might want to help the family. But he says, I did not come to America to have my son be a lamplighter. I want you to get an education. So his father is very almost disgusted. It says in the book, it uses that word, that his son wants to be a lamplighter. So again, it was a long time ago, and there was no electricity in the street lamps in Little Italy, so they had to be lit by hand. So Pepe becomes a lamplighter, and again, his father's just giving him a very, very difficult time. And so one night he decides, I'm not going to do it. My father's upset. He shouts things at me from the window as I'm doing it. My family, I'm being a disgrace to my family, so I'm not going to do it. and the streets of Little Italy went dark. So his little sister doesn't come home. And the father comes to him and says, the streets are dark, you must go light the lamps. And the boy, just being very, very sad and embarrassed, says, I won't do it. You're ashamed of me. And the dad says, your sister's scared to come home. You're the only thing that's going to bring her home. So he goes out and lights the lamps and finds her. And this book is really cool because the pictures are actually paintings. And you can see kind of the strokes in the picture. So, and I read somewhere when I was kind of studying other than our book and the videos that the instructor put out there, that value is so important in books because it provides a stark contrast and balance and can help point out things that might be of more importance than the others. And this book, I definitely found that as being true. If you kind of look at it, here we have the whole page is pretty much dark, except for the main focuses in the book. And this is where I think that they cast that light onto Father's face. This is when he is trying to get Pepe to go out and light those street lamps. And I feel like they are really, and I know it's always the readers, it's what they're seeing, but in my view, I'm seeing the concern etched on the father's face as he's trying to talk the Pepe into going to light the lamps so sister can make it home. So I feel like that shining up on there is really trying to reflect that. And here they're making it a big point to make that light so bright to show us the job he's doing. And then we see sister right here. So, and then of course right here, it just has that light illuminating their sweet faces. And the very last page says, Pepe, when I'm bigger, I want to be like you. I want to light the street lamps. I think it must be the best job in America. The best job, says Pepe, wondering. You scare the dark away, she told him. Pepe smiled and held her tighter. He glanced up at the last street lamp. You can light this lamp tonight, Assunta. He helped her hold the stick. On the way home, Assunta fell asleep in Pepe's arms. As Pepe walked, he held his head up and his eyes were bright again. Oh, and then we have the light illuminating right here. And again, that's to me, oh, and that the shadows cast right there from that light. And to me, the whole point of the book was him having the post of street lamp lighter. So I found it interesting on every page, that light just illuminating the characters' faces. So